This month's WASDE report would have dropped recently, but the current government shutdown has postponed it indefinitely. That leads us to the question, what exactly goes into preparing the WASDE report? Well, in 1999, former Farmweek anchor LEIGHTON SPANN went to Washington, D.C. to find out. Here's his encore report.
From the outside, it looks like any other Thursday afternoon at the USDA South Building in Washington, D.C. On the inside, though, it's obvious that preparations are underway for something important. A portion of the fifth-floor hallway has been secured. Special steel doors like these are closed and locked to limit access by elevator as well as on foot. Opaque vinyl shades with steel reinforcers are drawn over each window in this area of the building and sealed. The USDA's National Ag Statistics Service, or NASS, is beginning a lockup to prepare and release a monthly crop production report and the world's supply and demand estimates. By 7 o'clock the next morning, as the nation's capital comes to life, the report's contents, production forecasts for corn, wheat, soybeans, cotton, and other crops have been finalized. We were allowed into the lockup area here on the fifth floor of the USDA South Building about 1 hour before release of the report, but USDA employees actually working on the numbers have been at it since midnight. Mississippi's Commissioner of Agriculture, Dr. Lester Spell, and a group of 4 county extension agents also arrive at the entrance to the lockup area before 7:30 to be in place to observe the official release of the reports. The group is admitted only after presenting proper credentials that were issued in advance. We enter through a double door closure in serpentine fashion, another aspect of the physical security that surrounds the crop numbers.
That's so I couldn't stand down here and wave at somebody outside in the hallway. And it works very effectively, as you can tell. A little inconvenient as you came through, especially with a group, but it still works very well.
Again, the whole idea behind the lockup approach is to prevent anyone from getting early access to the crop information and having an obvious advantage in trading. In a nearby room, also within the lockup area, a huge photocopier is churning out copies of the crop production report. The first copies of the report had to be available by 7 a.m. for members of the news media. The media are allowed into this special room within the lockup area and given a copy of the crop numbers an hour and a half before the scheduled release time. This allows the reporters for organizations such as Reuters, Bloomberg, and the Wall Street Journal to have their stories and tables on the crop report prepared by the official release time of 8:30 a.m. To ensure that the information stays within the media room and the lockup area until that hour, all telephone lines have been turned off, and all pagers, cellular phones, and other communication devices have been surrendered.
There's a clock in there on the wall, which is hooked to the National Bureau of Standards, and that's what we release the report by. At 8:29, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to tell them that they can turn on their equipment but not transmit. And then at exactly 8:30, I'm going to say go, and within just a second, that stuff will be all around the world.
Secretary of Agriculture Dan Glickman entered the lockup area on the 5th floor less than 10 minutes before the release time. Not even Glickman, the USDA's top administrator, knew the contents of the report in advance.
I sign it before I read it.
He signs it before he reads it.
The report is not considered official and thus cannot be officially released out of the lockup area until Dan Glickman or an Undersecretary of Agriculture signs it. Back down the hallway in the media room, Bill Pratt, the Secretary of the Ag Statistics Board, turns the electronic switch, restoring telephone communications to the area just in time, 8:30 a.m.
Go!
The actual numbers and analysis of the crop production report and the World Agricultural Supply and Demand estimates are then released by reporters using computer modems, fax machines, and telephones. And within 5 minutes of the release time, the information is also available over the internet from the National Ag Statistics Service homepage on the World Wide Web. The numbers in the report were hammered out in this room within the lockup area by the members of the Agricultural Statistics Board. Sitting around this conference table at built-in computer terminals, the board members began their work at midnight and spent about 30 minutes on each crop. The survey data they were reviewing on each crop in order to set the numbers had been transmitted to Washington by NASA's network of state statistical offices and kept on diskettes in a safe until this day. State statisticians use a combination of crop enumerators, personnel who actually visit fields and make ground observations of crops, as well as telephone calls to farmers to put together the data. Mississippi statistician Tommy Gregory says although the reference date on their report is September 1st, the sheer size of the information gathering process requires that it be spread out a few days before and after that date.
The objective yield count started on the 25th of August. We had enumerators were out in 170 fields across Mississippi. Telephone calls to individual farmers started right after September 1.
For the 4 Mississippi County Extension agents who observed the release of the September 1999 crop report, there is a greater appreciation now for the importance of providing accurate statistical information.
So it kind of lets me know what I do in the county in terms of ag statistical reporting, let me know how important it is and how it's all being used, and also it brings a more of a global perspective too into the data and the outcomes.
From Washington, D.C., I'm Leighton Spann reporting.